Hola amigos, welcome back. For those who are watching me for the very first time, my name is Adiola and I live here in Merida, Yucatan, Mexico, where I share my experiences as a single woman living here in Merida. Now today's video will be whether you should rent a property here in Merida sight unseen or rent off site. Now it is August, meaning that high season will be starting in the next 2 months or so. So many snowbirds will be coming down here to Merida to spend their winters in a tropical paradise, which is Merida. Now, if you haven't been here before, maybe this is your first time visiting Merida, then you're gonna have to start from scratch when it comes to looking for rent. If you've already been to Merida in the past, then you probably know how to find a good rental, you probably know the neighborhoods, and you are familiar with the city already. But I will also be sharing a few tips with you, even though you are a veteran of the city. Now, for those who have never lived in Merida, so maybe you've been to Merida in the past for a visit, 1 week, 2 weeks, a few days, just to come check it out, and now you're planning on spending at least a month, preferably 5 to 6 months in the city, and you're thinking about renting. So the first thing you probably do will be to check into a hotel, right? Check into a hotel, and then from there you can now move into your rental property. Now that's gonna be the best option. But some of you might be thinking, okay, I don't want to spend too much money on hotel or Airbnb. And also, I don't want to go through the stress of moving my stuff from the hotel to my rental apartment. Why can't I just move in to my apartment or to my house, from the airport right into my rental property? Why can't I do that? And why can't I rent sight unseen? So the thing is that here in Merida, you could have a beautiful home in the middle of chaos. Yes, you can have a beautiful home in the middle of chaos, or you can have a beautiful home in the middle of a jungle somewhere. So this is why it is very important for you to come and check out your rental property in person if possible. So now, are there a few people who actually found their properties weeks or even months before moving down here for the winter, or maybe even for at least a year? Yes, it's possible. It's definitely possible to find a really good place without actually coming to check out the property in person, because there are actually honest realtors out there. There are good landlords out there that will tell you about the neighborhood and the property itself, right? So there are still trustworthy people left out there anywhere in the world. But the thing is, I will recommend that if this is your first time living in Merida for more than a month, I would definitely recommend checking out the property in person. Now, if you're going to be coming down here during high season, so maybe from November to like February, if possible, I would actually recommend coming down here during low season. So that will be between like April to August, even September. Come down here for, a week, summer holiday, and try and check out as many properties as possible in a few neighborhoods. Now the thing is that if you're going to be looking for a property a few months in advance, chances are that those landlords are probably looking for tenants as soon as possible, right? So they're not looking to rent their property out for several months in advance. But at least when you come to Merida a few months before and you go check out a few properties in different neighborhoods, you can now get an idea of neighborhoods where you actually want to live in and neighborhoods where you don't want to live in. So that let's say a month or two before coming down here and you're looking on Facebook Marketplace, or you decided to work with a realtor, right? There you can tell the realtors, okay, these are the neighborhoods that I don't want to live in, and these are the neighborhoods that I do want to live in. And the reason why it's important for you to come check out the neighborhoods and the properties in person is so that you can see at least where those neighborhoods are. So let's say, for example, you decided to live in Central Merida, And then you go check out a few neighborhoods in Central Merida: Santa Ana, Santa Lucia, San Cristobal, San Sebastian, La Ramita, and there's a few places here in Central Merida. Then you know, okay, which neighborhoods do I actually enjoy living in? Also, what parts of those neighborhoods do I not want to live in? Because there are places in those neighborhoods whereby it's better not to live in those places, like neighborhoods close to the market, for example, right? San Juan, for example, San Juan is very close to the market, meaning that it'll be very busy, it'll be very loud. So you might find a really good property, well priced, beautiful, but it could be in the middle of the chaos. So that way, if you have a realtor sending you listings of properties in San Juan, you can tell the realtor, no, 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 it's okay, I'm good, right? Unless the San Juan is like really far away from the market, because San Juan neighborhood is relatively large and it's actually close to the La Ramita neighborhood, right? So at least you know, okay, what are the good neighborhoods in Centro. Also, if you decide to live outside of Centro and you've gone to check out a few properties outside of Centro, let's say the Garcia Inez area, it's Mina, Colonia Mexico, let's say you decided to go up north, right? The Campestre area, San Nicolas Norte, Montebello, and those areas, or maybe even outside of the city limits, Concal, Cholula, what have you. At least you can get an idea of, okay, what does it feel like? What is it going to feel like to live in these neighborhoods? For example, let's say when you came down here in person to check out properties in Concal and Cholula, right? And you had to take the Uber a few times to go check out those properties, and now an Uber back to the city or to your hotel, you can sort of see, okay, do I really want to go through this every single day while I'm here? Do I really want to go through the commute? Do I really want to spend this much money on Uber? Do I have the patience of having to wait this long for a Uber? And sometimes Uber drivers can even cancel on you, right? So at least that will give you an idea of, okay, what can I expect when I eventually decide to live here? Because coming here as a tourist and visiting the city as a tourist is completely different from actually living here, right? As a tourist, you know, your schedule is packed, right? On this day, at this time, you have to go do this tour, and then afterwards, you come back home for dinner, and then you go out for salsa dancing, and then the next day, you go to the beach, and then, you know, it goes on and on. But when you're living here, life is different, right? And reality can set in. So going back to the main question of should you look for a property sight unseen? My question will be, if it's your first time actually living in Merida, I would actually advise that you come check out the property in person, right? Come check out the property in person. If you're able to get a flight to fly down to Merida for a week or two, at least maybe a month or two before moving down here, right? So at least that way you can actually go with the realtors to see where those properties are. So you could have parts of a really good neighborhood that aren't recommended for someone who is new to the city. So you can have a particular street whereby your house is really beautiful, and then the house next door, your neighbor hoards. Your neighbor is a hoarder, or your neighbor has like 50 cats, or the neighbor next to you has 3 dogs that barks all day long, or there could be a mechanic workshop just 2 doors down, or there could be a club like a block away, or maybe that particular neighborhood floods a lot. Now, if you're coming down here in the winter time, you don't have to worry about flooding because it doesn't rain in the winter time. It's actually quite dry here in the winter time. So flooding, that's nothing for you to worry about, fortunately. But you do have to be mindful of your neighbors. And another thing you want to be mindful of is also the street. How clean is the street? What is the quality of the roads on your street? Now, if you're going to be taking Uber or what have you, then you probably don't care about how narrow the roads are, the speed bumps, the potholes. You probably even won't have to worry about that. But at least if you go for, let's say you are the kind of a person who enjoys going for walks, evening walks or early morning walks, or you also want to check out the neighborhoods, right? The sidewalks, the streets. What does it look like? Are there many street dogs or cats or what have you, right? So those kinds of things, you will never know while looking at pictures online. You will never know. And also, even if the realtor goes in person, because most times they will just send you listings. But even if, let's say, you send someone to go check out the property, they might only just tell you about, the property itself, right? They probably won't tell you about the neighborhood unless you tell them, okay, can you look out for all these aspects, all these criteria in the neighborhood? But still, sometimes, like, you are your own best judge, right? You are the only person who knows what you can tolerate, what you cannot tolerate. So for me, for example, I can tolerate my neighbors having roosters or dogs or what have you. But someone like you might not be able to tolerate that. So if you send someone like me to go check out a property and I go, oh, the neighbor next door has a rooster, for example. Oh, it's, no big deal. But then to you, it might be a big deal. It might be a big deal. So yeah, so that's why it's always good to, at least your very first time in Merida, your first time actually moving to Merida, try as much as possible to come down here in person to look for a place. Now, try and come maybe 1 or 2 months before to find a place, and then you work out a deal with the landlord, or if possible maybe come here maybe like a week or two before, and then find a place, because there are vacancies all year long in Merida. It doesn't matter if it's high season, low season. Now, if you're going to be staying in Central or areas close to Central, then yeah, during high season prices might go up or it might be more difficult to find a place. But really, there are vacancies all year long in Merida, so you don't have to worry about, oh, what if all the good places are all gone, what have you. No. Also, another way that you can probably find a really good place sight unseen will be through Facebook groups. So there are many property owners in Merida that are on Facebook groups. So I've seen people post on those groups like, hey, I'm coming down to Merida between September to November. I'm looking to rent a house. Can somebody, reach out to me or whatever? And a few people, like actual landlords, will reach out to them. In most cases, these guys are realtors. These guys are realtors, that will reach out to you. So that's, what I wanted to quickly discuss when it comes to finding property sight unseen in Merida, especially if you're only going to be coming here, let's say, for the winter month. Now, another option that you can probably do, which I actually will recommend because I've done it many times in the past, is to do Airbnb. So if you're planning to come to Manila and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna spend 5 months in the city, I'm gonna spend 4 months, I'm gonna spend 6 months in the city, your best bet will be Airbnb. And so at least that way you don't have to worry about the neighbors, so on and so forth. Because what happens is that, let's say it doesn't work out, you can always move out, right? So you can get an Airbnb for a week, and then if it's something that you actually like, you like the neighborhood, you like the Airbnb itself, the pricing, what have you, and then you can negotiate with the owners directly, and then have them take the listing of Airbnb, and you can rent it for the rest of your stay. But the only thing about that is that, depending on the listing, you might not be able to extend your stay for as long as you want. Because let's say, for example, you decided to book the Airbnb for a week, and then a few days later, someone comes in and they book it out for a month. Now, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, right? So Airbnbs are not guaranteed, right? Because if I book an Airbnb and I really love that Airbnb, and then I decided that, you know what, okay, I've spent 3 days at this Airbnb. Now let me go talk to the landlord. But by the time you do that, someone else has already booked for a week or for 2 weeks or maybe even for a month, right? So now you have to move out, go find a place for that time period, and then come back, right? But it is definitely doable on Airbnb, definitely doable. So that's going to be the only method that I will suggest renting sight unseen, because you're only booking the Airbnb for a week, you're only booking the Airbnb for 5 days. If it doesn't work out, you can just move on to the next place without having to worry about your deposit, right? Because what's going to happen is that sometimes the Airbnb owners might still require you to sign a contract and then still ask for a deposit. And then now just hope they will actually refund the money, because now you're working directly with them. So Airbnb has no business with you guys if anything goes left. So now let me know in the comment section, are you considering moving down here temporarily to Merida? This video is actually targeted towards snowbirds or people who are considering moving down here for just a few months, right? I'm going to do another video for people who are considering moving down here for longer than 6 months, for at least a year, or maybe even for as long as possible or indefinitely, right? So let me know in the comment section below, for those who are currently living in Merida and you're renting in Merida, let me know what your experience was like finding that first property. Did you work with an agent? Did you work with a friend? Did you work with a landlord? How were you able to find that property of yours? And also, how were you able to negotiate the rent, right? Now, rent negotiation and what have you, that is completely different, especially when you're going to be renting through Airbnb. So let me know down in the comment section below, would you rent a property in a country that you've never been to, sight unseen, or maybe even rent long term in a country that maybe you've been to in the past but you've just never lived there? Would you rent sight unseen? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please do click on that subscribe button so that you can be notified the next time that I upload a video. All right, see you in the next video. Ciao.